Okay, so good morning, and today our class is on the final solution by Manik Bandopadhyay. I hope you can watch the screen. Can you?
And you?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so okay. So let us read the story and let me explain. Just জারি মাইক অন আছে প্লিজ অফ করে দে সবাই নিজেকে মিউট কর the first thing that you need to do is mute yourself please. Okay, so now let us do. Can you listen to me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So now let us start. Even a few days ago, one could see forlorn, dispossessed people spending their days and nights huddled together like herds of cattle and goats in the shelter of a railway platform. Mollika's family had a place, the length of a spread out mattress. Everything, everyone was squeezed in there. Mollika, her husband Bhushan, their 2.5-year-old son Khokon, and her widowed sister-in-law Asha. Teen suitcase, beddings, bundles, pots and pans. So you can understand the very beginning is the description of a refugee family which has taken shelter in uh, the Shialda railway platform. Okay, so you can understand this. So you can see in my last class, I had told you about the condition of the refugees. So I had told you that in the camps, they were given only shit, and that was their share in the camp. And almost you can see the same thing that Mallika's family had a place the length of a spread out mattress, and there they had to leave. They had to. I would rather they had to exist rather. I would not say leave because this is not leaving. Another day had dawned. Perhaps the sun has no option but to rise, chasing away the night shadows, or else why would darkness give way to light in this cruel, ugly world? So think about this. The thing that I was saying that were they living at all? Another day had dawned. Perhaps the sun had no option but to rise. No option but to rise. Think about this. That the light is coming because only the light has to come. Otherwise, there is no reason for the light to come. Because life has almost become as dark as hell, as cruel and ugly as hell. Today, Mullika's family had nothing to eat. The child had been whimpering since early morning, and it fell into a pattern as the day advanced. The drowsy child would start howling and then gradually tire and drop off again. So think about the child. Look at the child. The child has not eaten. The child has not eaten since long. And according to the author, this is the situation of the refugees. You know, this is the situation of the refugees. Mallika looked up to find Promotho, accompanied by Ramlochon, descend on their mattress kingdom. So look, how satirical is it? The mattress kingdom, as if the family had this thing in their control, not uh, fit beyond the mattress. And there, Mallika suddenly finds Promotho and Ramlochon. They belonged to the Health and Welfare Society that was aiding the refugees. You know, like এই যে এখন আমফান হওয়ার পর we have seen, and even when the migrants laborers were working or crossing roads after roads in order to reach their home, we find that there were so many NGOs, there were so many societies who suddenly started working in order to help. And during that time also, during the 1950s, we find that so many such non-government organizations, so many welfare societies uh, were created, and they were working in order to help these people. And obviously, as we will find in this story, that even these societies uh, were not, all of them were not good. You know. Some of them were taking advantage of the situation. Some of them were taking advantage of the situation, even in the name of welfare, even in the name of charity. And that we will find how during that time, even the refugees were made victims in the name of charity, in the name of welfare. They were given hope, only a hope to be crushed. So let us progress. Asha covered her head, pulling the loose end of a sari close to her forehead. So you know ঘোমটা দেয় না, যেমন ভাবে ঘোমটা দেয় ওরকম ভাবে ঘোমটা দিয়ে মাথাটা ঢেকে নিল. Asha was a widowed. She was not a girl anymore, and she was widowed. We know she was the widowed sister-in-law, and therefore ঘোমটা তো দিতেই হবে, as the Bengali customs would say. Bhushan's fever had remitted. He was dozing wrapped in the folds of Katha and was not bothered by Pramod's appearance. So Bhushan was having fever, and he knew that he had nothing to do with Pramod. Pramod's সাথে ওর কিছু কাজ করার নেই. So he was not very much bothered. So many had come and gone, men from societies, associations, and newspaper offices. It had made no difference to their lives. So muses are made. You could see also, like not every time there is someone like Sonu Sood. There is someone who will go and aid them. There is someone like our Dev who has also done so many things in work to in order to transport the migrants to their homes. But not every time such a rather kind person will appear to someone's life as a savior. No, everyone is not that lucky. So, in spite of the case that men from societies, associations, and even newspaper came to bring report on them to make their pathetic conditions public, nothing was happening at all. Nothing was happening at all. Nothing hopeful. It had made no difference to their life. Mallika and her family did not rely on government. So you can understand. I said you earlier that even the government practically denied that there was any situation that so many people would come from Bangladesh to India like refugees. The government at the very beginning during the 50s, not until 1952, they had decided that this was a phenomena that was happening in Bengal. They decided to ignore that. No proper care of the refugees were taken. What, like it had taken place in Punjab border, the problem was properly taken care of. But in West Bengal, everything was in topsy turvy. Everything was in six and nines. So that was the problem. But they had placed their faith on these men. So these men from this welfare society were better. They had continued to live on at the station, which was hell on earth, knowing fully well they were about to be turned out. So Jake station is a public place. Location furniture. So at any day they could be turned out. How is he now? The fever has remitted, but will rise again, and with all the shivering for sure. It was always Mallika who replied to Promotho's queries. So you can understand it. Mallika had to reply Promotho. In speech, attire, and demeanor, Promotho appeared a middle-aged, fatter familiarist. Pater familias মানে বেশ পরিবারের চেনা লোকের মতো, as if someone who is like a father figure and who is very much familiar like a friend, or the combination of both. Pater, that means father, familiar, that is who is in a family. So he is like a father figure, middle-aged man, which Baba Baba Chehara, which was why they resented his solicitation. So that's why, because he looked like a father, and that is the problem. That is the problem. Look at this phrase. This phrase is going to become a pathetically important phrase because this term is used ironically. The whole story is the irony of this phrase, pater familias, a father-like figure who is very much close, who is very much close, who is very much friendly also. This becomes the irony of the text, which was why they resented his solicitations. পাওয়ার মতো দেখতে তো তাই ভেবেছি এর কথায় depend করা যায়. The men had done nothing for them, although this was the fourth time he had come to inquire after their well-being and demonstrate his concern. Now they were on the verge of starvation. Mallika did not mince words, but bluntly said, "We are relying on you, and you are doing nothing for us." তোমার উপর তো depend করে আছি, but you are not. We are really at sea. How many people can we take care of? Now, if you don't try to help yourselves, then so there comes the question. There comes the question. This person came from a welfare society, but he is completely confessing that he cannot take care of, or their society cannot take care of so many people unless the peoples are ready to help themselves. Okay, help ourselves. Did you say? Should we attempt to? If that is what is required, then I am ready to stand up straight and behave responsibly. Here I am throwing my hands about, dancing and screaming for attention. What further humiliation is left for us? So look at this. যে নিজে মানে বাঙাল ভাষায় বলতে গেলে যদি ওদের মতো করে বলতে হয় যে নিজেরে করতেই হবে, নিজেরে করতেই হবে, কি করে করুম আমি এখানে ওইটা হাত পা নাড়ুম, যা কিছু করুম, আমি তো সহাল থেকে চাইছি যদি কেউ আমারে দেখে, কেউ তো আমারে দেখছে না। দ্যাট ইজ মানে এই ভাষাটা আমার 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 ঠাকুমার কাছ থেকে শেখা, এই ডায়ালেক্ট ওরা কথা বলে। দ্যাট ইজ ইউ ওয়ান্ট মি টু do something. I'm moving my hand out. I'm dancing from the morning, and no one is listening to me. No one is listening to me. So what can further humiliation be done to me? And you say that we need to help ourselves. How could I help ourselves? Her words carried a sharp sting, but the agony of the helpless never finds a voice. So here comes the question. There is a famous essay. Once I had talked about it with Amit, I remember. It is Gayatri Spivak's famous essay, Can the Subaltern Speak? So, who are the subalterns? Hmm. So, who are the subalterns? The subalterns are those who are marginal in the society, those live near the boundary. যাদের একটু চেষ্টা করলেই সোসাইটি থেকে বাইরে বার করে দেওয়া যায়. A very poor who doesn't find any voice because they have no power, they have no money, they have no capability, and therefore these people are always shut. And Spivak was with different discussions from Marxism, Gramsci. Spivak was saying that yes, these people may shout because you can see that there are media, you can see there are these people, and you can see these people are speaking about them. But with speaking comes another thing. Speaking is never completed without listening. So if you speak and no one listens to you, then that is not a speech. A speak becomes a speech when it is listened to. And that is the problem. No one listens to these marginal people. And that's why they are subaltern. Okay, that's why they are subaltern. And Spivak questioned in that famous essay, can the subaltern speak? And almost following him, Manik says here the same question, Spivak এর অনেক আগে এটা লেখা, And how Manik is saying, look at this. It is often said that great minds think alike, or rather, Manik was thinking, rather, uh, Manik was so modern a writer. He was thinking decades ago. He was much modern than his time, and he just narrated the gist. But the agony of the helpless never finds a voice. Signs of anger, of humiliation never appear on their faces. So, does that mean that they do not feel humiliation? Does that feel that they never feel agony? Does that feel that they never speak up, never shout, never cry? No. The problem is there is no reception. वो करते हैं सब कुछ कोई सुनता नहीं সবই ওরা করে কিন্তু কেউ শুনতে পায় না এগুলো সবাই আমরা নেগলেক্ট করি হ্যাঁ এই ধর আমি ঘরে বসে এত সুন্দর ল্যাপটপে তোদের পড়াচ্ছি তোরা ল্যাপটপে আমার সঙ্গে জয়েন করে ক্লাস করছিস কতজন জয়েন করেছিস আজকে জয়েন করেছিস তোরা এখন 13 জন আছিস তো 13 না তার মধ্যে আমার দুটো আছে তার মানে হচ্ছে 11 জন তো নাও ইউ ক্যান সি দ্যাট এই 11 জন তোরা আছিস হয়তো 12 জন আমাকে পছন্দ করে না বলে ক্লাস করেনি বাকি আরো যে 7-8 জন আছে তারা হয়তো কারোর নেট কানেকশন রিচার্জ করতে পারছে না কারোর ফোনের স্ক্রিনটা খারাপ কারোর কাছে স্মার্টফোনই নেই তো এরা কি আমাদের এই ডিজিটাল ক্লাসে সাবঅল্টার্ন নয় আর দে নট দ্য সাবঅল্টার্নস ইন দিস ডিজিটাল ক্লাস and are we being able to listen to them their cries that they are unable their cries that they are being left outside the arena of education are we listening to them are we voicing out for them are we speaking for them আমি তো ভিডিও কল রেকর্ড করছি সেটা কি হবে সেটা সুন্দর ভিডিও হয়ে যাবে ভিডিও হয়ে ইউটিউবে আপলোড করে দেবো বাট am I ready to accept the situation that a large percentage of my students they do not have that uh, they do not have that capability that to understand এই কেউ একটু আফ্রিদিকে বলে দে যে আর একবার একটু পাঠাতে আমি জয়েন করিয়ে নিচ্ছি so that is the problem that is the problem with us we do not listen to them so মানে এইটাই হচ্ছে ব্যাপার so we make them subaltern we make them subaltern often so that happens আমি জাস্ট তোদের সঙ্গে যেটা আমি সবসময় বলি যে একটা স্টোরি যখন পড়বি নিজের আশেপাশের লোকের সঙ্গে একটু রিলেট করে পড়বি তো আমি সেইটাই একটু রিলেট করে দিলাম যে দ্যাট এই সাবঅল্টারনিটিটা কিন্তু খালি গল্পে নয় তোদের লাইফেও আছে তো whenever you will think about it সেটা জোরে নিয়ে ভাববি ওকে সো নাও ক্যারি অন এগুলো অনেকক্ষণ হলো uh, it seemed to him Promotho found this manner of destitutes rather terrifying at first so at first for Promotho it had also always been shocking the destitutes. It seemed to him as though they were turning their backs to him in contempt, saying, "Don't talk down to us or flood us with platitudes. Tell us instead what we need to do. Tell us what the solution is." So the thing is that Promoto had always gone to them. He has shown his concern, and the problem is that at first Promoto used to find that these were rather very terrifying thing because a real solution had to be done. Now Promoto was a realist, usually aware of things. His head wheeled, his heart thumped unnecessarily, unreasonably when he tried to work things out. Blowing hot and cold, he sought to claim calm Mulika down. So now Promoto was also afraid that how to approach because when you do some crime or when you try to assist in some crime or when you know that I am going to take advantage of someone's pathetic situation you feel guilty from inside. And possibly Promoter was going through that. Okay, what can I say? You have come in waves flooding in the city. So he was still taking his time to go to the point. The government is unable to cope. How many people can we look after? It's all God's handwork. So, almost like, you know, this during this situation, our economy is continuously soaring down, continuously soaring downwards, and our financial minister is saying that it is God's handwork. But we know that a mishandling of economy is not a mere situation of last 1 year, but since last 4 or 5 years, the same mishandling of economy is becoming a very important matter of concern for the Indians. At any day, the economy may completely crash down, but the government is saying that it is God's handwork. And the same happened during partition. People, they had to leave their land, they had to leave whatever they have, they had to leave everything. In the name of religion, people played politics. In the name of religion, people played power. And now, when the situation or whatever had to happen, it just happened. The partition was done. And now, these people who wanted to take advantage of the situation, they said that it was all God's handwork, like a deluge or an earthquake. It is God who makes poor, insignificant men like us do what He wants. Or else, why would we be perturbed about the suffering of women like you and come running to your aid? And then suddenly he is saying, look, ভগবানও এটা চায় we poor men, like Promoter calling himself poor, we do something. And that's why, look, in spite of being a poor, I have come here to help a woman like you, a suffering of a woman like you. তোমার কষ্টে আমার বুক ফেটে যাচ্ছে, and I have come to help you. Why take the name of that disgraceful being? So look at what Mullika has replied. Why take the name of that disgraceful being? Disgraceful being, it is God. এ ওনার নাম আবার কেন নিচ্ছে? ওই বাজে লোকটার নাম আবার কেন নিচ্ছে? মানে as if এই লোকগুলো, they have suffered so much. For them, God is bad. God is disgraceful. Religion is horror. You know, for them, religion is horror. কিরে আফ্রিদি তো রিকোয়েস্ট পাঠালো না রে? পাঠিয়েছে?
না স্যার।
পাঠায়নি? পাঠালে কেউ একটু আমাকে মাইকটা খুলে বলে দিস, তোরা তো দেখতে পাচ্ছিস স্ক্রিনটা, যে আফ্রিদি রিকোয়েস্ট
ওকে স্যার।
এই পাঠিয়েছে নাকি? দেখতে তো পাচ্ছি না, কোনো আওয়াজও পাইনি। ওকে, বাট ইউ পিপল ক্যান লিসেন টু মি না? স্পষ্ট বুঝতে পারছিস তো
ইয়েস
এটা
স্যার।
পড়াচ্ছে?
Yes, sir.
ইয়েস স্যার।
Okay. So Promotho kept his cool, brushing aside her outburst. He got down to serious business. So now, look, everything has been kept aside. Just now we have to come to the point. Look, we have no control over the present situation, but we can find you a job if you wish. You will earn enough. So think about this. The way this man was speaking a few minutes ago, with praise, with God, that we have come to help you. But suddenly, his tone, the words he is using, have become much more professional, much more economical, much more formal. Words like job, earning, present situation, control. So look at the vocabulary that is shifting. That is the importance. Suddenly, while you speak with your friends and while you speak with someone who has a formal designation, you will find that you are using different words for the same thing. And look at this. Suddenly, promoter has become formal because now he is not going to praise anymore, but he is going to uh, deal, or he is going to crack the deal formally. Why don't you find my husband a job? He's suffering from malaria now, but will be all right in a day or two. He can start working after resting a couple of days. So, the first thing that a Bengali woman would say, or a Indian woman would say, rather, during the 50s, এই সময়ের কথা বলছি না, look and remember of which time, যে সময়ের কোন সময়ের কথা তুমি practically পড়ছো. That's why I say that when you read a story, you need to keep in mind the time in which the story is being told. So at that time, for an Indian woman, the first thing was that a job was a thing for a man in the family. And therefore, why don't you find my husband a job? এখন তো ম্যালেরিয়া হয়েছে, but within a couple of days he will be all right. So therefore he will be able. Bhushan raised his bloodshot eyes and looked at them. ভূষণ একবার লাল চোখ করে ওদের দিকে তাকালো। এটা কিন্তু রাগের লাল চোখ না, চোখটা খুলে বোঝানোর চেষ্টা করলো, yes, I am still leaving. If you want me, then I will be able to do some job. But the situation is pathetic, you know. I said in the last class that women were drawn to prostitutions or slavery because the men in the family had no jobs. You know, যে চাকরিগুলো ছেলেদের করার কথা, লেবার, মানে একদম উঁচু পোস্ট থেকে শুরু করে লেবার ক্লাস। So there were so many people already existing in this part of Bengal, and now people were coming like floods of ants from the other side of the border. So it is evident that for a single job there will be 10 contestants, and job was scarce. So for managing a job for a man was really, or rather a respectable job for a man was really next to impossible, or rather negatively next to impossible. Impossible-টাও বোঝায় খুব সহজ কথা হয়ে যায় এরকম সময়. And then the thing comes that women needed to go to job because এই দিকের মেয়েরা তখনও মানে as per the datas in 1950s, these people who were already settled here, the women in their family, তখনও পর্যন্ত সেই চলটা হয়নি যে মেয়েরা কাজে নামবে। অ্যান্ড ইভেন এখন যেমন আমাদের বাড়িতে ঝি মাসিরা থাকে, তখন কিন্তু সেই রকম মানে খুব বড়লোক বাড়ি ছাড়া ঝি মাসি রাখার চলটাও ছিল না। বাড়ির মিডল ক্লাস মহিলারাও নিজের বাড়ির কাজ নিজেরাই করে নিত। সো দেয়ারফর মানে বাড়িতে যে ঝিয়ের কাজ করবে, মানে বাড়িতে, ডোন্ট টেক ইট অফেন্সিভলি, ইউ নো, বাট আই এম জাস্ট মানে জাস্ট ন্যারেটিং ইউ দ্য সিচুয়েশন। বাড়িতে যে ঝি মাসির কাজ করেন যারা, সেই কাজটাও যে করবে সেই সময়, সেই কাজটারও লোকের দরকার ছিল না, বিকজ উই নো দ্যাট আওয়ার মাদার্স অর আওয়ার গ্র্যান্ড পেরেন্টস, দে ইউজ টু ডু দেয়ার ওন ওয়ার্কস। তখন মিডল ক্লাস বা আপার মিডল ক্লাস ফ্যামিলিতেও কিন্তু বাড়িতে কাজের লোক রাখা হতো না। তো দ্যাটস ওয়াই মানে একটা রেসপেক্টেবল জব অর রেসপেক্টেবল আর্নিং ফর ওমেন, it was also really hard to manage. And those who were educated, কেউ কেউ হয়তো স্কুলে কলেজে অফিসে চাকরি পেয়ে গেছে, বাট দোজ হু ওয়ার নট এডুকেটেড, প্র্যাকটিক্যালি কজন বাড়ি বাড়ি কাজ পাবে? এদিককার তো আনএডুকেটেড মহিলা রয়েছে, প্লাস ওই দিক থেকে আসছে। তো তখনকার দিনে স্কেয়ারসলি মিডল ক্লাস ফ্যামিলিতে, মানে হায়ার ক্লাস ফ্যামিলি গুলো ছাড়া বাড়িতে কাজের লোক স্কেয়ারসলি নেওয়া হতো, and therefore it was really hard for those uneducated women or undereducated women to manage earning, you know. So you can understand that they were all victimized. Their men could earn from nowhere. Even the job of a labor were hard to find. And so the women, they had to take those dark alleys of the city in order to find some, or in order to feed the bellies of their family members. And so, with this thing in mind, let us read the next part. Promoter made noises of regret and said, there are no jobs for men. Men are out of work everywhere, but there are some jobs still available for women. Will you find something for my sister-in-law too in that case? We can both work and earn. Uh, Molika bolo তাহলে then do it for my sister-in-law too. We will both work and earn, then the family will run better. And then look at what Pramotho is feeling. Pramotho was only too happy to kill two birds with one stone. I think I could, he said. Mollika glanced at her child and now reduced to skeleton. মানে ছেলেটা একদম রোগা হয়ে গেছে কঙ্কালের মতো. She spoke to Bhushan softly, drawing the loose end of her sari over her head. There is no other way out for us, is there? What do you say? I have to work. So she said that there is no other way. I had to go out because you cannot find a job, and the baby is dead, reduced to a skeleton. Then we have to save him at least. But Bhushan did not utter a word. He lay still, clenching and unclenching his fist. What will he do? What will he do? Because at that time, the people were used to the situation that the women they will look after the house and the men will look after about the income. But situation was changing the moment the the situation was demanding that women should come out of the house because for men it was scarce, the job was scarce, so therefore women had to look after both inside and outside of the house. You do not expect that because the woman is going out for a work his husband would cook for him or his husband would clean the house for him. He had to do both things, the inside and the outside. So therefore, for on the other hand, for Bhushan being a male in that type of society, which still didn't allow the woman without any hesitation to go out for work, Tarkachi it was a matter of it was a prestige issue. It was a matter of humiliation that he could not do anything for the family. He could not contribute anything for the family, and for that his wife had to go. And that's why the expression was evident. He was clenching and unclenching his feet. Oh God, why has fate brought me to this pass? Mallika cried out. And Mallika understood. And on the other hand, for these people, they would say, for these men, for a mother, it is important to save the child. And for men, ego becomes more important. And the answer didn't come from his husband, and Mulika suddenly understood that his husband is not liking the idea that he would go out. Rather, they would starve. So that's why Mulika said that why has fate brought me to this pass? Because whom I would listen to, my son's hunger or my husband's prejudice. Mallika has called out to God by force of habit. There was nothing in her voice to indicate that she was making a plea. She seemed to be dismissing him from her mind, taking his name one last time. So now look at this. Look at this. This is the shift over. Look at this. This is the shift over. So you can see that Mallika had called out God by force of habit. There was nothing in her voice to indicate she was making a plea. So look at this, the change from rather a God believing woman to a non believer. Why? Because the situation has led him through instances that she was disillusioned. She was disillusioned because they were thrashed out in the realm of religion. They were thrashed out for believing in a certain faith, believing in a certain God, and in their need of time, that God did not also come to save them. So, what is the need for that type of God who will not come in handy in the time of need? Why will we worship that type of a God? So, how partition even affected the faith of a person. Hmm. And look, the woman who lives inside the house, she is expected to be a God believer. She is expected to do all the household works and all the puja and other worshipping things, broto. She is expected to do all the things. And when she comes out as non-believer. Okay, that change, that metamorphosis is what partition has done to so many people. Let me give some instances. Uh, it is narrated in uh, an essay by mm, Abdul Kafi, and there he narrates an incident that he finds a narrative where the author speaks that they came here from the other side, from Bangladesh now, which is now Bangladesh. They came here, they settled in West Bengal, and their grandmother, Tida, she did not allow the Singhashan, or rather, I would say, Lokhir Jhapi, যেটাকে আমরা বলি, the adolf of goddess Lakshmi, who is thought to be the goddess of prosperity. She did not allow it to be put in the house because, according to her, those who has once been uprooted from land, from house, should not worship goddess Lakshmi because লক্ষ্মী তাদের বাড়ি ছেড়ে চলে গেছে, তাদের ঘরে অলক্ষী ঢুকেছে বলেই তাদের আর লক্ষ্মী পুজো করতে নেই, because they have been uprooted. So think how these things were affecting the religious belief, religious identity of a person. Okay, and you know one thing: the Indian women, even during those days, they thought their husband was like a god to them, and their husband's house was like a temple to them. And whatever they did, not only for love, they did it almost religiously, as if it is a part of their living, as if it's a part of their religion. They did it religiously. So when they were going against that custom, it was customary for an Indian wife to live inside the house, live inside the family, and look after the family. And now suddenly she has to come out and she has to take care of the earning of the family, and that too not in a very, rather I would say, mm, glorious way, not in a very graceful way. So that's why whatever she had believed religiously, now she had to leave it. And therefore, symbolically, she was becoming a non-believer. That's very evident. That's very important to locate when you write about Mollika. This change, this shift, is a thing that is very important to mention. Okay, I will do whatever you ask. Dance naked if you so wish. But you will find a room for us first, won't you? An enclosed place and a drop of milk for the child, otherwise he will die. So now the mother's bargain. When we read Bernard Shaw in 1912, Bernard Shaw had said that a mother's, or rather a woman's, ultimate goal is to become a mother. And that I do not think only Bernard Shaw had thought. The mother-like figure. It was not that Bernard Shaw had only thought like this. Ages after ages, years after years, this had been the practice for a woman. Once the child is born, she is no more a woman, she is no more a wife. Her only identity becomes she is a mother. Her first consideration becomes the child, and then she cares for the world. So when the child is dying, the mother is very much vocal about that, and she is saying that she can do anything which is even disgraceful. She can do that to save the family, to save the child. So look what she is doing. She is doing not for herself. She is doing not for herself. She is doing for her child and her family. An enclosed space and a drop of milk for a child. and he will be doing anything. স্টেশনে আর থাকতে চাইছে না. Promotho calculated in his mind. He calmly said, "You will get a room to stay and some milk too. Take the money as advance." Now look, this same person was being unable to do anything for them a few minutes ago. And now suddenly he has money in his pocket. Take this money as advance. It will cover the rent of the room and the price of the milk. ঘর ভাড়া, দুধের টাকা. Now you would better give me a receipt for the money straight away. I will take you to the room in the afternoon. To your room in the afternoon. তুমি যে টাকাটা পেয়েছো আমাকে একটা কাগজে লিখে দাও বাবা, and সেটা লিখে দিলেই তোমার কাছে প্রমাণ থাকবে, তুমি বলতে পারবে না যে তুমি টাকাটা নাওনি, and in the evening I will come and I will take you to your room. ঘর ঠিক খোঁজা হয়ে যাবে. So the thing is that even when there was scarcity, provisions were there. Provisions were always there. But the problem is that the provisions were not uh, available to everyone. The provision was not available to everyone. Okay, so that is the problem. That is the problem I want to just focus on. If so many people were taking advantage of that situation, either you had to offer a large amount of money or you had to offer a favor in other terms. Like Mollika agreed to offer. Okay, so that's why she was given the money as a rent of the room and for food. Smiling to himself, Promotho lit a cigarette. He was not chewing betel leaf and he felt bad about it. Betel leaf, pan. Blowing a ring of smoke, he ordered, Ramlochon, go and buy a liter of milk, then stay here and look after these people. So he is placing a guard, he is placing a guard so that this bird should not fly away. There are many perverse people about the place waiting to pounce on them. Remain alert. So টাকা পেয়েছে ওরা, সেটা আশেপাশের লোকজন যে দেখেনি এটা নয়. They have received the money from Ramlochon, sorry, from Promotho. So therefore Ramlochon is placed here as a guard and he will also protect these people. He will also protect these people from uh, the perverse people around. Suddenly, Mullika lost all restraint and threw herself on the ground. She held Promotho's feet, encased in a pair of shiny, polished shoes, and sobbed. Are you a man or a god? টাকাটা যেই দিল, দুধের টাকা, দুধের দাম, the price of the milk, you can't imagine what it is, the price of the milk. And therefore she just places herself at the feet of Promotho and just ask, are you a man or a god? That is because now she knows that her child will be saved because of that money. Whatever price she has to pay, she is ready to pay once the child is leaving. A young man of 20 or 22 and a girl of about the same age came up, college students, to her almost as soon as Promotho left. যেই Promotho চলে গেল, these children, the college students, they came. They seemed to be college students. Did he say he will get you a job? The boy asked. Yes, the man is evil. Do you know what kind of job he will find you? তুমি কি জানো কি ধরনের জব দেবে তুমি যে যাচ্ছ? The problem with these boys and girls are that they are honest. They want to do welfare, but they have no money. So they can warn you that whatever you are ditched, you are being ditched, you are being rather backstabbed. But when the against question will come, that then you manage to do the right thing for us, you just give us money, you just give us food so that we will not depend on him. There comes the problem, তখনই প্রবলেমটা হয়ে যায়. So the two went on to explain the nature of job to Mallika for 10 whole minutes. While they talked, Ramlochan had brought her a quarter liter of warm milk. So মানতে হবে ওখানে বললো 1 লিটার দুধ আনতে. So think about this. Why the quarter liter is mentioned? রামলোচনকে টাকা দেওয়া হলো 1 লিটার দুধ আনার জন্য. And Ramlochan had bought a quarter liter of warm milk. So now here also Ramlochan is taking commission, and that commission is a larger part. 75% of the money is taken away. Okay, so that is the problem. That becomes the problem. Okay, so are you people listening to me? শুনতে পাচ্ছিস বাবু?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Okay, so the two men went on to explain. And as she listened to them, Mulika took out a shell-shaped spoon from within the folds of her katha. So you know, ঝিনুক বাটি আমরা ছোটবেলায় দুধ খেয়েছি তাতে, and আমাদের বাড়িতে আমাদের বাচ্চারাও খায়. And began to feed the child on a lap, blowing on the milk to cool it. দুধটাকে ফুঁ দিয়ে ঠান্ডা করতে হতো, খাওয়াতে হতো. And then look how desperate she is. She is asking, if you know this man is a scoundrel, why don't you take him to the police? The police won't arrest him. The boy replied, they will if you complain. The girl piped in. মেয়েটা বলল যদি তোমরা কমপ্লেন করো তবে কিছু হতে পারে. Mallika tried smile bore witness. Mallika's tired smile bore witness to her. So Mallika was tired and said, complain. How can I? আমি কিভাবে complain করবো? Sister, you don't know how this world is. Mallika ওদেরকে বলছে, তোমরা তো কলেজ স্টুডেন্ট, বড়লোক বাড়ির ছেলে মেয়ে পড়াশোনা করো. But you don't know how this world is. I know because I have faced. I have seen so many things. I was uprooted from my land. I was uprooted from my house, and then I had to cross the border and come here. I know that happens. How can I kick up a fuss when there is nothing I can find fault with? And আমার কাছে তো কোনো প্রমাণ নেই. তোমরা এসে এতগুলো কথা বলছো, আমাকে উনি এখনো বলেননি উনি আমাকে কোনো খারাপ কাজ দেবে. Then how can I say? How can I keep up a fuss when there is nothing I can find fault with? He wants to find me work, make me comfortable. How can I grumble about that without any proof? Mallika pushed the child away from her lap onto the ground, her eyes glittering. Mallika's eyes glittered because she knew what she was making him herself in. She knew what she was going to do, what was going to come to her. Her fury and disgust seemed to center on the child, but every emotion had one answer: her child. She was a mother. That was the one thing. Do you think I don't know what villainy is? She said. Can't I figure out who is honest and who is treacherous? He puts on an act of sincerity, but can he hide the look in his eyes? We are living with our backs on the world. Had it been otherwise, we would have kicked him in the teeth and shown him the door. But we are helpless. What can we do? অন্য সময় হলে মেরে বার করবো. কি করবো? আমাদের কাছে টাকা নেই, বাচ্চাটাকে তো বাঁচাতে হবে. Anything I can do for this baby of mine. Anything. Because I am a mother. The boy and the girl remained silent. So Ramlochan, who had been watching them from afar, went and fetched a police officer. আর রামলোচন এই সুযোগে কি করলো? দেখছে যে বাবা এত অনেক কথা বলে ফেলছে, so fetched the police officer. We are student volunteers, the boy offered by the way of explanation. The police officer left after taking down the names and addresses of the students and warning Mallika not to be duped. Be on guard, he advised. So now, be on guard. Isn't it ironic? With whom to be on guard? With men like Promoto? To be on guard? Hmm, ঠিক আছে, বোঝা গেল? So that is the problem. That is the problem. এই যে জায়গাটা এই জায়গাটা একটু মাথায় রাখো যে কার থেকে বি অন গার্ডটা কার থেকে হয়? These two students volunteers. They were advising good. But you know, the police officer was also bought or he was also taken care of very well by promoter. That's why the police officer directly তো বলতে পারে না, being a government official, just warning দিয়ে গেল এই ধরনের volunteerদের কথা শুনে. How can we be wary when our stomachs are empty? Mallika derided. But the police officer had no time for her words. কার কথা শুনবো শুনবো না, খালি পেটে দাদা কার খেয়াল রাখবো, সেটা মল্লিকা যখন বলছে, meanwhile the police officer left because he had no time. ওর ওইটাই ডিউটি ছিল একটু বলে দেওয়া, because he had already taken money from promoter. So therefore that was done, and the students had already left. বাচ্চা student ভয় পাবে স্বাভাবিক. And Ramlochan kept sitting on the corner of the platform some distance from her. রামলোচন একটু দূরে বসেছিল কিন্তু দেখছে কি হচ্ছে না হচ্ছে, because he was placed there as a guard. Perhaps he was keeping an eye on them, making sure others didn't win them over. মানে অন্য দালাল যারা আছে, the other brokers, like প্রমথ তো খালি একা নয়, প্রমথ রামলোচনের পেয়ারটা একা নয়, there will be many pairs like them. তো আর কেউ যাতে বেশি টাকা দিয়ে ওদেরকে কনভিন্স করতে না পারে, that's why রামলোচন sat there, and he was taking care that Mallika didn't speak to anyone else. Okay, so at that point, I will end today. Okay, no, এই পাতাটা শেষ করি. Mallika turned to her sister-in-law Asha. Thakurji, you are the cause of our ruin. Get to work, bring us some relief. মল্লিকা এবার আশার দিকে বলবে যে দেখো তোমার জন্য আমাদের এই ঝামেলা, কম বয়সে বিধবা হয়েছো তুমি, তোমার দিকে ছেলেমেয়েরা তাকাতো, তো you were the reason, for you we had to leave, because you are a widow, you are of young age, and you were directly the threat, and that's why we had to come. So therefore it's your duty to go to work and bring us some relief. But what she is replying, I can't, not even I have to die. So you can understand. That is the difference between a mother and a woman who is not a mother. She can die. She can die in spite of that, instead of losing her self respect. She can die. So, not even if I had to die. But Mallika could not die. Mallika had no option of dying. She could not die because she had to save the life of that child. And that's why she could not die. Whereas it was easy for Asha to die. On the other hand, the same woman did not say this when they were crossing the border for this home. But now suddenly, and when there is a mother, the family knows that she is a easy victim, she will do whatever she needs to do for the child, then why the other would do the same thing? There is someone not to take the burden. So that is the typical complicated relationship between the family members, even between women. একজন তো আছে কিছু করার জন্য, there is someone, and she has to do, she has no option because she has to save the child. For the father, there is no job. That is a very prominent excuse. On the other hand, if the wife dies, the father, there remains an option. At least in the 50s, there had an option that he could marry again. For this woman who was widowed, he had nothing to depend upon, or rather, nothing to stick to, and therefore she could easily say that I could die. আমাকে যদি খেতে পড়তে না দাও আমি মরে যাবো তাও ভালো, but I will not do this type of work. Mallika wiped away her tears. Am I talking to death or dying? Am I talking of death or dying? Do you think I fear death? তোমার কি মনে হয় যে আমি নিজে মরতে ভয় পাই? I would be ready to die if that could keep my child alive. That is the primal question. Keeping the child alive, the mother could do anything. And that's where the problem or the difference becomes prominent between Asha and Mallika, that Asha is not a mother. যদি আশারও একটা বাচ্চা থাকতো, probably she would have done the same thing. But she could not. But Mallika could easily. Or rather, I would not say, Mallika could decide easily that he had to do it because she had the child alive. Okay, so this is all for now. This is all for today. And now you can just unmute yourself and ask question one by one if you have anything to ask. এই অবধি গল্পটা কি বুঝেছিস তোরা? How did you find this part of the story?
Yes, sir.
Okay, समझ में आया जो भी हमने बोला, the different
Yes, sir.
layers.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now if you have anything to ask, you may ask me.
স্যার
Okay.
একটা
हाँ
কোয়েশ্চেন
बोलो.
আছে।
हाँ बोल.
স্যার বলছি ওই যে লাইনটা ছিল না, যে ও
হুম
হ্যাবিচুয়েটেড ছিল যে মানে ভগবানের নাম নেওয়ার জন্য, ওই
হুম হুম.
লাইনটাতে আর একবার বলুন না, রিপিট করুন ওটা।
দেখ একটা জিনিস আমি বলি, জেনারেলি কি হয় in a family, what does the wife do? We expect that even till today, এখন তো তাও অনেক modern হয়েছে, but during the 1940s it was expected that a woman would do the work within the family, within the house. She would cook, she would do puja, she would be a god believer, she would do all these kind of things. And even if you look prominently, you will find, একটু properly দেখলে বুঝতে পারবি, the woman does his duty in the in-laws house, in the husband's house, as if it is a part of a religious existence. It is a part of the religion. খুব religiously একজন মহিলা এই কাজগুলো করে। And suddenly he has to go against the accepted custom যেটা কেউ এতদিনও religiously করে এসছে। And now when he goes out, he becomes a non-believer because he thinks that whatever God has done, আমাকে তো রিলিজিয়াসলি যেগুলো করলাম তার বাইরে চলে আসতে হয়েছে। আমার যে ট্র্যাজেডিটা হয়েছে, দ্যাট হ্যাজ হ্যাপেন্ড ইন দ্য নেম অফ রিলিজিয়ন। আমাকে উপরে ফেলে দেওয়া হয়েছে বিকজ আই বিলিভ ইন আ সার্টেন রিলিজিয়ন, বিলিভ ইন আ সার্টেন গড, and when I was in problem, that same God never came to help. So why should I believe in religion at all? And then whatever the husband's house, this type of things I used to do very much religiously, but now I have to leave that. And who is coming in my age? No one from the husband's family. I have to do it because I have a child. You can see how reluctant the husband is here. So therefore, when I am breaking myself and I am making myself new, I am contributing in making a new narrative of womanhood. I must believe, I must just keep away the faith. I must keep it back also, leave it back. And I must make myself a new woman who can do anything for the family, not by killing herself, but by facing the danger, because I am a mother. Okay.
ओके सर, समझ गया मैं अच्छे से।
और कोई আর কারো কিছু বলার আছে? Anyone, anything you need to ask? Anyone? কেউ আছে যার কিছু বলার আছে? আজকের অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সটা নিয়ে নি।
স্যার
হুম,
বলছি ফার্স্ট সেমের রেজাল্ট বেরিয়েছে, কি হাইয়েস্ট পেয়েছে?
আচ্ছা দাঁড়া, এগুলো নিয়ে পরে কথা বলছি। সো হোয়াট এভার এই
ওকে স্যার।
স্টোরিটা নিয়ে যার যা বলার ছিল সেটা কি সবার বলা হয়ে গেছে? আর কারোর কিছু বলার নেই তো? সো আই এম স্টপিং দ্য রেকর্ড। Okay, now you ask.